If you're looking for a new OLED television in 2025, the Sony Bravia 8 is probably on your shortlist. The question though is, can a television that's a carryover from the 2024 model line compete in 2025? Well, let's take a look at this TV and I'll tell you what I think. Before we get started, if you're into tech, hi-fi, or movies, be sure to push the subscribe button for new weekly videos. While we watch the television being unboxed and set up, let's talk a little bit about the product range for Sony TVs this year and where this television stacks up, right? So the product range is kind of convoluted. It's a little confusing because Sony doesn't replace all of their sets every year, right? Some bridge from year to year, and this is one of those sets, right? And you need to know where this falls inside of the lineup so you can know if you're getting their high-end model or their low-end model or whatnot, right? So as you look at this image, you can see that you've got the LEDs on the low end, the W800s, the Bravia 3s. You move through the X85L, which probably won't be around for too much longer. You get to the Bravia 5, Bravia 7, which came out last year, mini LED. Then you get into OLED world, right? And you've got the A90K and the Bravia 8. Remember, the Bravia 8 came out last year, but it's going to continue on all the way through 2025. And then at the top of the stack for OLED, you have the new Bravia 8 II, and then the pinnacle for Sony is a mini LED, the Bravia 9. So as you can see, the Bravia 8 is the third TV down from the top of the line for Sony altogether. So it's a pretty darn good set when you think about it in terms of where does it fall inside of the hierarchy, right? Now for OLED, it's solidly in the middle. You've got the A90K on the low end, the Bravia 8 II on the high end, and this one smack dab in the middle. Now we'll cover a few more important features of the television. So first off, you can use the Bravia Connect app to control the television with your cell phone. The TV has the XR processor built in. That's for upscaling. The television features acoustic surface audio, turns the whole screen into a speaker, particularly when you use a Sony soundbar. There are 4 positions for the stands, so you can have a high, a low, and a wide and a narrow setting for the stands. It makes it really flexible. There is a Bravia Cam, the Bravia Cam built into the screen so that you can control the television with hand gestures if you're in for kind of the cool, interesting features of the TV. The TV has a 120 hertz panel. It supports all of the different HDR formats, including Dolby Vision. Okay, now let's talk a little bit about the back panel while I've got this open. So you got a couple of USBs here, right? And we've got a digital audio optical out, so if you want to use that to connect to soundbar, you can do that. You have S center speaker in here, and then you have 1, 2, 3, 4 HDMIs, and it looks like we're doing 4K 120, and your eARC, which is number 3, and then HDMI 1 and 2, which I assume are going to be the lower refresh rates as opposed to the 4K 120 here on the number 4. So if you're going to use something like a Xbox or a PlayStation, you would likely plug that into your number 4, and then you would eARC down to your soundbar using number 3. And then up here you could use a Blu-ray player, maybe an NVIDIA Shield streamer there. You've also got RS-232, IRN, and then cable antenna if you're going to be using something like that. The Sony Bravia 8 features Google TV version 12. It's really snappy, and I think most people are familiar with this UI, so this won't be anything that's new for folks. There's nothing new here to learn. The remote control is matte black with blue speckles, and importantly, features backlighting, right? So you can use this when it's dark. Additionally, there's a button for voice control and also several buttons for popular services. As that this is an OLED, the next 3 areas, contrast, blooming, and uniformity, are absolutely superb. We'll start with contrast. This is the ability of a television to display the blackest black beside the whitest white. Well, this does it perfectly because OLED is a self-emissive technology, meaning that each pixel actually turns on or off, and there's no dimming zones or edge lighting, anything like that. So you can have a perfectly bright pixel beside a perfectly dark one, and it looks great. And that leads to the next section, blooming. There is none, as that each pixel turns on and off, there is no bleed due to dimming zones. Now, uniformity is superb as well. There are no weird spots, there's no anything going on, and that's very typical of OLED. These three areas, absolutely superb for this television. Now let's talk about HDR brightness, right? In general, OLEDs suffer compared to brighter mini LEDs. Now, when you think about the newer high-end OLEDs, they perform a lot better, but this television is solidly in the mid-range for LED, and the brightness is kind of commiserate with that, right? So we're going to be looking at somewhere around 800 nits, and that's okay. And particularly in a very dark room, it's going to give you a lot of pop. But in bright rooms, brighter content, it's not going to perform as well as the higher end OLEDs or the mini LEDs. Now let's talk about SDR brightness. So I took the Kaleidoscape, downloaded the Batman in SDR, and this television really does take a step forward with SDR brightness. So last year, the 880L was a little lackluster, but this year at 450 nits, the Sony Bravia 8 provides a really nice SDR brightness experience. One thing that brightness helps with is hiding all those glares you get on screens from lights or windows. Well, this isn't the brightest TV, but this TV does have really good glare protection, right? So the coating that they put on does a wonderful job of kind of diffusing those reflections that you get from lights or from windows. So while the TV isn't super duper bright, the reflection coating helps the TV not show off all of those reflections when you're trying to watch something. Moving on, we're going to talk about the usable viewing angle for the television, right? So this is kind of the off-axis viewing experience. And this is a really easy one for this TV. As you can see, even with my camera, the colors don't really appreciably change, even when you get to the extremes of viewing angle. So from my perspective, this TV functionally can be viewed from pretty much any angle that anyone would ever actually watch the television without any change in experience. Now let's talk about gaming, and gaming is arguably just as important or more important than actually watching TV on a TV. And there's some good news and bad news. Now, as we all know, Sony hasn't been the best when it comes to gaming in the past, and this television in some ways is good and in some ways isn't so good. So on the response side, it has really great pixel response, no issues there. It's really when we get to input lag where things are a little bit questionable, right? So on the lower end side of things, meaning at the 60 hertz range, so 1080p and 4K, the input lag is around 13 milliseconds, which isn't awesome. We try to look for numbers 10 milliseconds or lower, but once we get to 4K 120, we're down to 5 milliseconds, and that's completely acceptable. That's great. I don't think anyone would have any problems with that. The television will support pretty much everything that any console can throw at it, except for 1440p. Why? I don't know. But you can game at 1080 or 4K, but not in the middle. And I think most folks are going to lean toward that 4K coming off their console at 120 hertz because that will absolutely give you the best experience on this television. Now that you know all about the television, the big question is this the right buy for you in 2025, right? There's a lot of options. You got other Sonys, you got other brands, and I can tell you honestly that you can find televisions that are better than this particular set in any of the areas, right? Now, where this television shines is it's really good for gaming for Sony TV, and it has a beautiful picture. It's not super bright, but man, it's absolutely gorgeous. But ultimately, this is going to be a question that comes down to math. Yeah, like anything else, it's a dollars and cents question, right? So at the $1,800 price point for a 65-inch OLED with the features and quality that this TV has, does it make sense to purchase this over another television on the market? I would say take a look at the cost for what's out there and then weigh that against your needs, right? And then you might also have your own preferences that weigh that as well. The TV is very good. The question is, does it have the value to stack up against newer sets that are now available in 2025? And ultimately, only you can make that decision. All right. Thank you so much for watching. Remember, like, subscribe, ring the bell. There'll be another video down in the corner. Check that one out, and I'll see you in the next video.